Welcome to Making a Murderer, Rubberducky video channel. Thank you for joining me today. This is RD Making a Murderer, and this is our daily MaM reading, and it's the CASO Investigative Reports, Part 97, page 961. Jody, okay. And like I said, I got my pager with me 24 hours a day. Just give me a holler. Jody, I will. Okay. Try not to have any third-party contacts. Jody, I'm trying not to. I'm sick of this place. Jody, I got a good job and I don't want to lose it. That's good. And I don't want to see you lose it either. And no matter what you think of me, and I hope you don't think that I'm trying to get you fired from your job or anything like that. I'm not. Jody, oh, I don't think you are. I just think they are. Okay. I can't answer that but I don't want to see you get fired from your job. Jody, it's a great job. I love it. Good. That's good. Well, let's get you out of here, Jody. And I will call you. I hope so, Jody. I'll get my cell phone tomorrow. I appreciate that. I will wait to hear from you, Jody. Even Saturday. Great. I will wait to hear from you, Jody. They'll charge it for me tonight at work. Page 962. Sure. End of tape. Investigation continues. Investigator Mark Wiegert, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 963. Type of activity monitoring of Avery Jail phone calls. Date of activity 090806. Reporting Officer Investigator Mark Wiegert. On 090806, I, Investigator Wiegert of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, was monitoring previously made phone calls from Steven Avery, who is housed in D Block Cell Number 1 in the Calumet County Jail. A phone call was made on 090406 at 1836 hours to phone number 920-755-2879, which would be Steven's brother Charles Avery. During the conversation between Stephen and Charles, Stephen stated she owes me money for the lawyer then. It should be noted that during the conversation when Stephen said she, he is referring to Jody Stachowski. Stephen then makes the comment to Charles, yeah, the check came from the firm, yeah, but it came out of my account. It should be noted Stephen is referring to the money which is being paid to Jody Stachowski's lawyer, a Mr. Tuning. The conversation indicates that check from Mr. Tuning was from attorney Dean Strain's firm. Investigation continues. Investigator Mark Wiegert, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 964. Type of activity, release of item to Deputy Reamer. Date of activity 08-12-06, reporting officer Deputy Jeremy Hawkins. On 08-12-06, I, Deputy Hawkins of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, took the following 5 items out of secure storage to be turned over to Deputy Reamer for photographing. Property tag number 8119, clothing rivet. Property tag number 8120, clothing rivet. Property tag number 8121, clothing rivet. Property tag number 8122, clothing rivet. Property tag number 8124, clothing rivet. The 5 items were placed in a secure storage locker for Deputy Reamer. I signed the chain of custody form the 5 items were on. The form was then put with the 5 items in the secure storage locker for Deputy Reamer to sign. Deputy Jeremy Hawkins, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 965. Type of activity, return of items. Date of activity 08-15-06. Reporting officer Deputy Jeremy Hawkins. On 08-15-06, the following items were placed back into secure storage locker by Deputy Reamer. Property tag number 8119, clothing rivet. Property tag 8120, clothing rivet. Property tag number 8121, clothing rivet. Property tag number 8122, clothing rivet. Property tag number 8124, clothing rivet. Deputy Reamer signed the chain of custody form for the 5 items. Deputy Jeremy Hawkins, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 966. Type of activity, photographing of item. Date of activity 09-04-06. Reporting officer Deputy Jeremy Hawkins. On 09-04-06, I, Deputy Jeremy Hawkins of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, took out of secure storage property tag number 9130 and property tag number 9131, keys to locks for the storage unit where the Toyota RAV4 is being held. I opened up envelope number 9130. and took the keys out of the envelope. I opened the storage unit for Scott's Towing, who took the Toyota RAV4 out of the storage unit. Tim Austin, from the Wisconsin State Patrol, was there to photograph the inside of the Toyota RAV4. Investigator Wiegert of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department assisted Tim Austin by opening the front passenger and driver's door at 10:21 a.m., the passenger and driver rear doors at 10:22 a.m., and also the back cargo door at 10:24 a.m. After Trooper Austin finished photographing the inside of the motor vehicle, Investigator Wiegert closed the doors to the Toyota RAV4 at 11:06 a.m. Scott's Towing then placed the Toyota RAV4 back into the storage unit at 11:24 a.m. After the Toyota RAV4 was placed back in the storage unit, I secured the storage unit with the locks. After the storage unit was secured, Investigator Wiegert, DCI Special Agent Tom Fassbender, Trooper Austin, and myself went down to the secure portion of the evidence room. At 11:30 a.m., both Investigator Wiegert and myself opened property tag number 9078, passenger seat to the Toyota RAV4, and property tag number 9079, driver seat to the Toyota RAV4. Both Investigator Wiegert and myself were wearing gloves. Trooper Austin took pictures of both the seats. After the seats were photographed, they were placed back into the boxes where I resealed them with evidence tape. The two seats and also the two envelopes containing the keys for the locks were placed back into secure storage. Deputy Jeremy Hawkins, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 967. Type of activity, interview of Sandra L. Barth, date of birth 02/10/47, date of activity 09/13/06, reporting officer Investigator Mark Wiegert. On 09/13/06, I, Investigator Wiegert of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, along with DCI Special Agent Tom Fassbender, went to the address of 4025 Waldo Boulevard in the city of Manitowoc to interview Sandra Barth. Sandra would be the mother of Jody Stachowski. Upon arrival at the residence, Sandra invited us in, and we had a seat at the kitchen table. While speaking with Sandra, she indicated to us she had legal custody of Jody's child, Blank, who would be blank years old. Sandra stated they had stopped letting Blank go over by Jody and Steven Avery's residence because Blank did not like going there and actually hated Steven. According to Sandra, Jody was in a very abusive situation when she was living with Steven Avery. Sandra told us about one incident that Jody had told her about. Jody had informed Sandra that Steven had beaten Jody up several times in front of Blank. Sandra states Jody told her one time that Jody and her daughter Blank had to lock themselves in the bathroom inside of Steven's trailer because they thought that Steven was pouring gas around the trailer to light it on fire. Sandra states on other occasions when Blank was supposed to go over by Steven and Jody, she would start crying because she did not want to go over there. Sandra stated when she or her husband would call over to talk to Jody, they would have to go through Steven first before they were allowed to talk to Jody. Sandra stated Steven would always screen the phone calls. Sandra also told us Steven at one point had threatened to take Blank away from them and put her in a foster home. Sandra stated she was told when these things would happen over at his residence, Steven would have been drinking when he would get abusive like this. Page 968. Sandra then went and retrieved a letter which Blank had written to her and her husband. The following would be a transcript of the letter. Dear Grandma and Papa, I love you and Papa with all my heart and hope nothing happens to you or Papa, and I hope nothing happens to you or Papa, and I'm sorry that on Mother's Day weekend I went with my mom because all they did was fight, fight, fight. I didn't really have any fun because Steven made me stay in the trailer for one day because I was really hyper and I was playing cards with Barbara's boys. Goodness, I hate Steve Avery. I wish he would go to prison. Oh my goodness. It should be noted a copy of that letter will be included with this report. I asked Sandra when she would have gotten that letter. She states she believes it would have right before Jody had gone to jail in May of 2005. Sandra stated Jody had told her one other time about Steven getting abusive with her. Jody told Sandra she had gone to the races and Steven was supposed to be up north. According to Sandra, Jody had come home and was getting a drink of water and saw Steven's reflection in the window, at which time he grabbed her by the hair and pulled her outside into the car. When Sandra last spoke to Jody which was just recently, Jody had told her that Steven had threatened several times to kill her, meaning Jody. Jody also told Sandra that she had a lot more stuff to tell the investigators, but did not want to until she got her stuff out of Steven's trailer. Jody also told Sandra on many occasions that Steven would kill Jody, and nobody would miss her. Jody also told her mom, Sandra, that Steven had used handcuffs on her in a sexual way. Sandra then told us that on one occasion she had to testify against Jody in her operating while intoxicated trial. Sandra stated she was very scared of Steven at that time because of the look he was giving her. She stated she was afraid that she had her door opener and her phone in her hand when she walked out of the courthouse. She stated Steven and Brendan Dassey were walking in and out of the courthouse and giving her evil looks. We asked Sandra how Jody got to know Steven. Sandra stated Jody's friend Michelle was friends with Raleigh Johnson, who lived in the trailer, which Steven eventually moved into. Jody got to know Raleigh through her friend Michelle, and after Jody had gotten kicked out of her house, Raleigh allowed her to move into the trailer on the Page 969, Avery property. According to Sandra, at that time, Steven was still living in the ice shanty, and they met when they were living on the Avery property. I asked Sandra if Jody had ever mentioned working at a gas station, to which Sandra stated Jody never worked at a gas station that she was aware of. Sandra also went back into the time when she had testified against Jody. She states after the trial was over, Jody told her, Steven, Barbianda, and Brendan Dassey all had a story. We're going to lie for Jody about her driving. Sandra indicated that if we wanted more information, we might want to talk to Michelle Mueller, who would be Jody's only friend. That was the end of our conversation with Sandra. Investigation continues. Investigator Mark Wieger, Calumet County Sheriff's Department. Page 970. Type of activity, interview of Michelle R. Mueller. Date of birth 04/21/71. Date of activity 09/21/06. Reporting officer, Investigator Mark Wieger. On 09/21/06 at approximately 10:53 a.m., I, Investigator Wiegert of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, along with DCI Special Agent Tom Bassbender, went to the address of 4352 Highway 83 in Hartford, Wisconsin, to interview Michelle Mueller. We arrived at approximately 10:53 a.m. and were invited into the house by Michelle. It should be noted Michelle would be the friend of Jody Stachowski, Steven Avery's girlfriend. Michelle states she had known Jody since they were school age. According to Michelle, she introduced Jody to Raleigh Johnson, who actually owned the trailer Steven Avery was living in. Michelle states when Jody moved into the trailer, that is how Jody met Steven. Steven was living in an ice shanty on the Avery property at the time. Shortly after Jody met Steven, Steven moved into the trailer with Jody in approximately 2003. Michelle said Jody had told her that when Jody first met Steven, he wanted sex all the time. Jody also told Michelle that Steven had tied Jody up in bed. Jody told Michelle on several occasions that after they would get done having sex, they would seem to always have a fight, and Steven would beat Jody up. Jody also told Michelle that Steven had choked Jody, on a few occasions to the point where Jody passed out. Michelle stated to me Raleigh Johnson was aware of the abuse because Jody had told Raleigh about it. Jody had actually called Raleigh on one occasion, and Raleigh had come to the residence to speak with Steven about beating Jody up. According to Michelle, Jody had bruises on her that Raleigh had seen. It would have been the same weekend that Steven allegedly had sex with his blank. Michelle estimated Jody had gotten beat up at least 3 times a week. I asked Michelle how she knew about it. She stated Jody would call her and tell her about it. Michelle stated Jody was working at a company when she was living with Steven. Steven had gotten jealous of Jody's boss, and Steven had actually showed up at Jody's place of employment and threatened the boss. After Steven had showed up at Jody's place of employment, she had gotten fired because Steven's threats to her boss. Let's start a review on page 961, and it's still Jody talking to Wieger. And Jody is telling Wieger how she's got a good job. She doesn't want to lose it. And he's saying, now listen to what he says. It's like, he's got the job over her head a little bit. That's good. I don't want to see you lose it either. And no matter what you think of me, and I'm hoping you don't think I'm trying to get you fired from your job or anything like that. I'm not. Jody, Oh, I don't think you are. I just think they are. Mm-hmm. So then you go to page 963, and here we get it cleared up a little bit. Stephen, according to this, is talking to Charles, according to this report, and it alleges that the check that paid for Jody's lawyer, Chewam, came from Stephen's account, actually. So it came from Dean Strain's firm. Does that make sense? I may have made that more confusing. I apologize. It's kind of late here today. 966, Scott's Towing takes out the RAV4 out of the storage unit. Tim Austin from the State Patrol, takes a photograph inside the RAV. Then, if you notice here, they actually have the driver's seat and the passenger seat out of the RAV separate from the RAV, and they're keeping those in actual inventory. So if you're thinking of the RAV, it doesn't have seats in the front anymore because the seats had been removed and each have their own property tag. So property tag 9078 is the passenger seat, and property tag 9079 is the driver's seat. I just wanted to make a little note of that. And there were pictures taken of just those seats. So why have we never seen those? Page 967. Now we're talking to Sandra Barth. This is Jody's mom. Now I just want to say something. Either Jody's lying, Jody's mother Sandra is lying, or Michelle is lying. So we have two liars and one person telling the truth, because all three of their stories are completely different than each other. So Sandra starts off and she says that Sandra told them about an incident where Jody had told her about, and she's saying that Stephen had beaten Jody up several times in front of the child. Sandra had told Jody that at one time, or Sandra states Jody told her one time that her and her daughter had to lock themselves up in the bathroom inside of Stephen's trailer because they thought Stephen was pouring gas around the trailer to light it on fire. Later, you're going to find out that Michelle has this story, but in her story, it wasn't that he was pouring gas around Stephen's trailer and Jody and her were in the bathroom. It's that Stephen had threatened to explode or bomb Sandra's house. So you just can't follow this. Now, I do find something interesting. On page 968, it says, this is a letter from Jody's daughter. It says, Dear Graham and Papa. And it repeats it twice. We'll just jump into it. I'm sorry that on Mother's Day weekend, I went with my mom because all they did is fight. Well, we know how that goes, guys. You know, that's probably true. I didn't really have any fun because Stephen made me stay in the trailer for one day because I was really hyper and I wanted to play cards with Barb's boys. I hate to say this, but at this point, with what's going on at Barb's, if Stephen knew that was on the computer, he was not going to want that girl over there. And I can get where he'd say, no, you're not going over there. I mean, he already had said that Barb wasn't doing a very good job of raising her own kids. So I'm sure Stephen had some concern about this stepdaughter, or soon-to-be stepdaughter, going over there. Another time, she says it would have been before Jody had gone to jail in May of 2005. Now, here we go with the races. Grabbed her by the hair. Now it's by the hair, not her arm. Pulled her outside into the car. Now, Sandra goes on to say that on one occasion she had to testify against Jody while operating the vehicle while intoxicated. She stated Stephen and Brendan Dassey were walking in and out of the courtroom giving her evil looks. She probably wouldn't even have known who Brendan Dassey was, but it'd been all over the news by now. This is this is all the way in September of 2006, so it's well past the point that the news has spoken of Brendan. So then they go on to say Jody had gotten kicked out of her house, so that was separate from Stephen. Jody got kicked out of her house, evicted, and Raleigh Johnson allowed her to move into the trailer, and that's how Stephen and her had met. I asked Sandra, says, if she mentioned Jody working at a gas station, and Sandra doesn't remember that. And Michelle Mueller would be the one to talk to. So let's go ahead and hit our last page for the day. 970, Michelle Mueller. Jody knew since high school. Now, Michelle has all these stories quite twisted compared to Sandra, compared to Jody. None of their stories match, but they're all supposed to be about the same events. So we've got two liars and one truthful. Who do you believe? Michelle estimated Jody had gotten beat up at least 3 times a week. Yeah. After Steven had shown up at Jody's place of employment, she had gotten fired because Steven's threats to her boss. All right. We just said she didn't work at this gas station that Sandra knew of. On page 971, we'll have to hold off. There's a whole bunch to talk about there, but we'll go ahead and do our read tomorrow first. You know, you never know who to believe when you've got 3 people telling of the same event, but none of their stories match. Oh, and it's only going to get more interesting as we go. We're getting down there, you guys. It's almost happening. If you do want to find out some answers about this case, the burn barrels on And Cuss Road tell the story. So look that up on our YouTube channel. And with that, you guys, it's time. If you didn't do the crime, you shouldn't do the time. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.